On the morning you enter your early 30s, after years of working and earning a decent paycheck, your savings account holds just a few $100s. Not before rent, not before bills, after everything, that's all that's left. You stare at the number longer than you want to admit because you've seen it before. Different amount, same feeling. Later that night, sleep refuses to come. You walk into the kitchen. A clock ticks softly. A cold cup of coffee sits untouched beside your laptop. You open the budgeting spreadsheet you created months ago. You remember why you never finished it. The numbers were honest. You weren't ready to face them. This time you keep looking. Your paycheck looks respectable on paper, but after taxes, housing, insurance, loans, groceries, and essentials, almost nothing remains. Then you notice the pattern. Every month, you're spending slightly more than you earn. Not through one huge mistake, not through one reckless decision. Just small habits quietly creating a gap between what comes in and what goes out. Month after month, year after year. The uncomfortable truth is that financial problems usually don't appear overnight. They grow through repeated choices that slowly shape your future. You close the spreadsheet. The apartment is silent. Nothing around you has changed, but something inside you has. For the first time, you stop blaming bad luck. You realize a bigger paycheck won't fix habits that already control your money. Instead, you accept a simple truth. If your habits created this direction, your habits can change it. That realization doesn't erase the debt. It doesn't increase your savings overnight, but it gives you something far more valuable: control. Because every financial transformation begins with one honest moment. The moment you stop avoiding the numbers and start facing them. But that creates the next question. If you're serious about changing your future, what should be the very first financial goal? Surprisingly, it's much smaller than most people think. Most people believe the first major financial milestone is $10,000. Others think it's paying off all debt. Some dream about their first $100,000, but none of those come first. The real turning point is much smaller. It's your first $1,000 sitting untouched in a savings account. Not money for next week's bills, not money for a vacation, money that exists for one purpose: protection. At first, that goal feels almost too small. What can $1,000 really change? More than you think. That first emergency reserve becomes a major financial and psychological milestone because it breaks the cycle of depending on debt whenever life goes wrong. And the biggest change isn't only financial. It's emotional. Before this milestone, every unexpected expense feels like a threat. A sudden repair or urgent bill doesn't feel manageable. It feels like everything is about to fall apart. But after building that first cushion, something changes. Before, any emergency can destroy my month. After, I can handle problems without panic. That is the real power of your first financial buffer. The challenge isn't just earning the money. It's protecting it from old habits. Because every dollar saved is competing against years of spending patterns. A flat tire, a home repair, a broken appliance. Life constantly tests your savings before they feel complete. That's why building this cushion requires more than budgeting. It requires intention. You start seeing your money differently. Unused items become things you can sell. Forgotten subscriptions disappear. Small daily choices begin changing. Not because you're punishing yourself, because you're creating breathing room. Week after week, the balance slowly grows. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't feel dramatic. Then one morning, you open your banking app and see 4 digits sitting there. For anyone else, it's just a number. For you, it's proof. Proof that your financial direction has changed. Not because you earn more, but because you make different decisions. And once you prove you can build and protect your first $1,000, the next lesson becomes even more powerful. How do you make saving automatic without depending on motivation every month? That first $1,000 was never just money. It was proof that you could change your behavior. But another challenge appears. Can you repeat that success every single month? For most people, the answer is difficult. Not because they lack ambition, because life is unpredictable. Some months are expensive, some months are stressful, and sometimes saving feels impossible. That's why relying only on motivation rarely works. The biggest turning point comes when saving stops being a decision you make every month and becomes a system that works automatically. Imagine your paycheck arriving before you have time to spend it. A portion quietly moves into your emergency fund. Another portion goes toward long-term savings. You never debate it. You never wait for the perfect month. The money is protected before your lifestyle has a chance to absorb it. At first, living on what remains feels uncomfortable. You notice your spending, your subscriptions, your unnecessary purchases. But slowly, something changes. You adapt. Not because you earn more, but because you become more intentional. The money you once thought you needed was often just money you had become used to spending. Month after month, the system keeps working. Even when life gets busy, even when motivation disappears, that is the difference between a goal and a system. Goals depend on emotion. Systems depend on structure. And structure creates consistency. One day you look at your account and realize your savings grew while you were focused on living your life, not because you made perfect decisions every day, but because you removed the need to make the same decision again and again. And just when your financial foundation starts feeling stronger, life introduces a challenge that tests whether your progress is real. Because building wealth isn't only about saving money. It's about surviving the moments that try to take it away. For a while, everything feels like it's finally working. Your savings are growing. Money is moving automatically. You're living within your means. Then life reminds you that progress is never a straight line. One cold morning, your car starts making a strange sound. At first, you hope it's nothing. Maybe it will disappear. It doesn't. A few hours later, the mechanic gives you the answer you were hoping to avoid. The repair is expensive. And for a moment, the old fear returns. The same anxiety, the same thought. Is this going to erase everything I've worked for? But this time, something is different, because disciplined saving has changed more than your bank balance. It has changed how you respond when life goes wrong. Instead of reaching for a credit card, you open your savings account. The money is already there. You pay the bill. The repair gets done. Life moves forward. Your emergency fund gets smaller, but your financial foundation remains intact. Years earlier, this same expense could have created a chain reaction. Debt, interest, stress, months trying to recover. Now, it's simply a problem you solved, and that realization is powerful, because for the first time, an emergency feels like an emergency, not a disaster. That is the true purpose of an emergency fund. It isn't designed to make you wealthy overnight. It is designed to prevent one difficult moment from becoming a difficult year. Over the following months, you rebuild what you spent. No panic, no guilt, just consistency. And while you replace those dollars, something even more important begins changing. Your mindset. You stop making decisions based only on today. You start thinking about what those decisions will create 5 years from now. And that shift may become one of the most valuable investments you ever make. Real financial progress rarely announces itself. There's no ceremony, no notification telling you that you've reached a new level. Most of the time, you don't even notice it happening until one ordinary moment changes the way you think. After building better financial habits, your decisions slowly stop revolving around today's price and start focusing on long-term value. Imagine walking into a store to replace something you use every day. A laptop for work, a tool you rely on, something important in your daily life. 2 options are available. One is cheaper, the other costs more. A few years ago, the cheaper option would have been the obvious choice. But now you pause, not because you want to spend more, because you're asking a different question. How long will this actually serve me? Instead of focusing only on today's cost, you start thinking about the next 5 years. If something provides value every day, quality begins to matter more than the lowest price. That small shift reveals something bigger. You're no longer making decisions based on what feels cheapest today. You're making decisions based on what creates the most value over time. Your relationship with money begins to mature. You become less reactive and more intentional. You stop chasing discounts on things that truly matter. You stop wasting money on things that don't. Every purchase becomes a decision instead of an impulse. And slowly, your question changes. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Will this decision still make sense years from now?" That is a completely different way of thinking. Because building wealth isn't only about saving more money, it's about learning to make better decisions with the money you already have. And once your mindset begins shifting toward the future, the next challenge appears, a challenge that has nothing to do with spending. It's the moment when your financial foundation meets uncertainty, and you discover how much freedom your savings can truly provide. No matter how carefully you plan, life will eventually interrupt it. It doesn't send a warning. It doesn't wait until your finances are convenient. It simply arrives. One afternoon, an ordinary email appears in your inbox. At first, it seems harmless, but within minutes, something feels different at work. Conversations become quieter. Managers disappear into meetings. People start wondering what's happening. You don't know the details yet, but you know something is changing. And this reveals a powerful truth. Financial security isn't about avoiding uncertainty. It's about being prepared when uncertainty arrives. On the drive home, one question keeps repeating in your mind. How long could I survive if my paycheck stopped? For the first time, you already know the answer. Not because you're guessing, because you've been tracking your expenses. You know what your life costs. You know how long your emergency fund can support you. That knowledge doesn't remove the uncertainty, but it removes the panic. Weeks later, the announcement comes. Some coworkers leave carrying boxes from their desks. You watch them walk away, and one thought stays with you. A steady income matters. But having time matters even more. Time to search carefully, time to make thoughtful decisions, time to protect your future instead of sacrificing it to survive today. That is what your savings have really been buying. Not luxury, not a bigger lifestyle. Time, freedom, options. You increase your emergency fund goal not because you expect disaster, but because you've learned that preparation creates confidence. The world will always be unpredictable. Your response doesn't have to be. And just when you begin feeling comfortable with your progress, another challenge appears. Not from a crisis, not from bad luck, but from something much harder to recognize. Temptation. Because sometimes the biggest financial mistakes happen. Not when life gets difficult, but when life starts getting better. After months of discipline, something unexpected begins to happen. Your finances feel stable. Your savings are growing. Investing has become part of your routine. And that is often when the biggest temptation appears. Not during difficult times, during successful ones. Someone you know with a similar income and lifestyle pulls up with a brand new luxury sedan. The paint shines. The interior feels perfect. For a moment, you imagine yourself owning the same thing. Then a thought appears, if they can afford this, why not me? It feels reasonable. After all, you worked hard, you sacrificed. Haven't you earned the right to enjoy something better? But wanting something isn't the problem. The real question is, what does this purchase require you to give up? A monthly payment, years of financing, higher insurance, higher maintenance, money that could have been building your future. So you do something different. You open a payment calculator. You look beyond the monthly number. You see the years attached to that decision, and slowly the picture changes. The car isn't just a car anymore. It represents future choices you may no longer have. Then another question appears. What if I invested this money instead? One path gives you immediate satisfaction. The other builds something that grows over time. One improves your image today. The other improves your options tomorrow. Neither choice is free. They simply cost different versions of your future. You don't judge your friend. You don't feel deprived. You simply understand the trade-off. Because for the first time, you're not asking, can I afford this? You're asking, is this worth what I'm giving up? And that changes everything. As you walk back to your reliable car, you realize something surprising. Your confidence no longer comes from what you drive. It comes from knowing where you're headed. Because true financial progress isn't just about buying more. It's about building the freedom to choose more. And soon, another milestone arrives. The moment your investments begin proving that your future is no longer just a plan, it is becoming real. One ordinary Thursday morning, you check your investment account before your first meeting, not because you expect anything special, just out of habit. The number loads, you look once, then you look again. For the first time, your portfolio has crossed a milestone you once thought was far beyond your reach. You don't celebrate loudly. No one around you even knows it happened. Because this moment isn't about a number on a screen. It represents something much bigger. Proof. Proof that years of consistency actually work. Every automatic contribution, every unnecessary purchase you skipped, every month you stayed invested instead of giving up. They were all building something quietly in the background. You close your phone and continue with your day. The meetings are the same. The emails keep coming. Nothing around you has changed, yet something inside you has. Think about building a house before anyone notices the walls. The foundation has to be built first. Nobody celebrates the foundation. Nobody stops to admire, but without it, nothing lasting can stand. Your investments are the same. You're no longer just watching a balance grow. You're seeing evidence that your future has a structure behind it. That's why this milestone feels different from buying something expensive. One creates a temporary moment. The other creates momentum. And momentum changes everything, because once you see discipline create real results, it becomes easier to trust the process. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop searching for overnight success. You simply keep building, quietly, patiently, confidently. But eventually, you discover the deeper purpose of wealth. It was never just about a number. It was about creating options, creating security, creating the ability to help when someone you love needs you. And when you look back, you realize something powerful. The person who once thought this milestone was impossible became the person who achieved it, not because of luck, because of the choices you repeated when nobody was watching. For years, you believed building wealth was about reaching a certain number, a bigger investment account, a larger emergency fund, a higher net worth. You thought that was the destination? Then one phone call changes everything. One evening, a family member calls. Their voice sounds calm, but you can hear the worry underneath. An essential home repair can't wait any longer. The cost is significant. They hesitate before asking for help. And for a moment, you think back to who you were years ago. Back then, helping would have meant using a credit card, borrowing money, spending months trying to recover, saying yes, while secretly worrying about how you would survive afterward. But this time is different. You open your banking app, you check your savings, you transfer the money. The conversation ends quickly, but the feeling stays with you. Because you didn't solve the problem because you were wealthy, you solved it because you were prepared. And that realization changes how you see money. It stops feeling like something to collect. It becomes something useful, something meaningful. You finally understand that financial security isn't about buying expensive things. It's about having the ability to protect the people you care about without destroying your own stability. That is what years of discipline were quietly building. Not just a lifestyle capacity, the ability to step forward instead of stepping back. The freedom to say, don't worry, we'll handle it, without panic, without hesitation, without debt. For the first time, you understand why this journey mattered. Not because your portfolio grew, because you grew. And once you experience that feeling, you stop measuring wealth by the size of your account. You start measuring it by the problems your preparation can quietly solve, because the greatest reward of building wealth is not the money itself. It's the person you become while building it. The morning you turn 40, the alarm sounds like any other day. You make your coffee. The house is quiet. Before checking messages, you open your investment account. The number on the screen is larger than you ever imagined 8 years earlier. Not because you discovered a secret strategy, not because you got lucky, because you kept showing up, month after month, year after year. You think back to that night at the kitchen table, the spreadsheet, the anxiety, the feeling that your finances were slowly slipping away. Back then, you believed success would come when you reached a certain number, but now you understand something different. The number matters, but it was never the reward. The reward was waking up without constant financial fear. It was paying an unexpected bill without panic. Knowing a job loss would be difficult, but not devastating. Helping someone you love without wondering how you would recover afterward. Those are the victories nobody sees. Nobody applauds them, but they are worth more than any luxury purchase, because wealth isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by the freedom your money quietly creates. Looking back, you realize the greatest investment was never just the money you contributed. It was the person you became while building it. More patient, more intentional, more confident, not because life became easier, because you became stronger. That is the lesson many people discover too late. Financial freedom isn't a finish line. It's a way of living, a collection of small decisions repeated until they transform your future. You didn't build wealth through one extraordinary moment. You built it one choice at a time. And perhaps that is the most encouraging truth. Your future doesn't change because of one perfect decision. It changes because of the ordinary decisions you make today and continue making tomorrow. Because the life you want doesn't begin when you become wealthy. It begins when you decide your future deserves more attention than your temporary impulses.